Hello, thanks for the opportunity to speak. So, the Union Dry Dock is next to the Hoboken Cove area. The Hoboken Cove area is a particularly unique location because it allows access to the water. One of the things that's facing our cities today is a lack of connection between our children and even our adults with the natural world. This leads to a lack of commitment to pro-environmental behavior, and we know that we all need to engage in that. Urban corridors, urban waterways are natural areas in cities, and looking at the water is wonderful. Parks that are along the water, that's wonderful, but access to the water where you can actually touch the water, get in the water, learn from the water, that is a unique opportunity that all cities should have. Hoboken is lucky to have that type of area. There are thousands of people that use the Hoboken Cove currently for recreation and for education. Myself, my interns that are high school and college age, school children and even toddlers have been conducting a biodiversity survey in that cove, that particular area, and underneath the Union Dry Dock. We've found over 85 different species. Several of them are on endangered species list. They're protected. If you put in a busy ferry, 40 to 80 boat trips is what they said. If they come in and out of that location, everything will suffer in that area. The turbidity will be increased, which will reduce the oxygen. That's detrimental to all the species there. Legacy contaminants will be stirred up by the propeller action. That obviously causes a hazard with toxins being distributed in the water that will affect children and the species that live there. The diesel fumes are toxic also to children, to the animals that are there, and the opportunity or the possibility for fuel spill is dramatically increased by having refueling tanks on site, hydrocarbon tanks. I'm also a graduate student in addition to running these kayak tours and educational programs for children. I'm working on conservation biology of the Hudson River estuary. This spring I took a class and I did a spatial analysis of the Hoboken waterfront to determine are any of the areas suitable for restoration. And in fact, what we found, and I'm happy to give you the study that I did, although it's not published, I am a student, it indicated that Hoboken Cove and Weehawken Cove, in particular, the piers that we were talking about earlier that people referred to as crappy, are actually the perfect spot for restoration. And by restoration, I mean it's not going to be restored to what it originally was, but you could create a living shoreline in that location. We know that there are turtles living there. We know that there are osprey. We know that there are sturgeon. We see them. I have documented them. We have images of them. We know that they're there. And the study that I did indicated that those are the two locations that are best suited for that. Does that mean there might be money available to restore the waterfront in those areas? Yes, it does. The Hudson River, there's a large document that was put together by a number of entities called the Hudson Raritan Comprehensive Restoration Plan. The Hoboken waterfront was identified as an area of opportunity for restoration. My study just takes that a step further. And even though perhaps it's not publishable in its form, surely we should take a look at that before we do anything else. Putting in a refueling station and developing any areas like we were talking about with the Monarch building, that would render that impossible. We would not even be able to consider it. We know that there are species like ribbed mussels growing there that are filter feeders. They clean the water, they act like oysters. So even though we can't have oysters perhaps in New Jersey because it's illegal, we could have robust ribbed mussel beds cleaning the water, and that is not just a benefit to Hoboken, it's a benefit for the entire world. There are over 200 species of fish in the Hudson River that we human beings rely on for food. And you might think, I don't eat fish from the Hudson River. Well, guess what? You eat fish that travel through the Hudson River. You eat species that rely on the estuary for the other portions of their life where they may go out into the ocean or into freshwater. We are tied to them. We're not separate from the water. So there are many reasons to keep the waterfront a place for people to use, to recreate, to access the water, and for the living species that live there to have the opportunity to grow and flourish, and that will in turn help human beings. It's a cyclical. I wanted to say, just close on one last thing, that even if you don't believe in rising sea levels, there are other spatial analyses that are available online. They show the Union Dry Dock will be underwater. So creating a refueling station there is a temporary solution. It's not a long-term solution. It will go underwater, and those refueling tanks will be underwater. Fuel, somebody said this before, that type of fuel is a thing of the past. If we're going to spend time working on things or spend money on things, then spend money on creating, electrical types of ferries, or sunlight-fueled ferries, or wind-driven. There are many other sustainable sources of energy that we can use for the ferries. And lastly, if you put a refueling station where there are 40 to 80 boat trips in and out every day next to a place where there are children and beginner paddlers paddling, you will have an accident. And all of us here that are discussing this, if we don't prevent that from happening, then we're all complicit. There will be an accident. I assure you, it's only a matter of time. If you put that level of motorized vessel traffic next to human-powered boaters, you will have an accident. So let's prevent that tragedy and open up the waterfront for all the different uses that I discussed and all the different uses that other people discussed. Make Hoboken the forefront of this effort, a model for sustainability and a biophilic waterfront where people can access nature. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.